Hi guys, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist. In our previous video I showed you a few different EDC bag options. Today, and continuing with that line of thought, I'm going to be doing a video about the top 10 EDC items. This is mostly a suggestion of mine. This top 10 EDC list is a way of you for seeing what's important and what's not so important, and using this as a way of putting together your own EDC bag kit in case you have been thinking of doing that. And I think you should, because even though I completely understand that skills, mindset, training and determination are your most important tools, the truth is that it's very hard or even impossible to improvise in some cases some pieces of gear. So that's why I do have with me usually a few items, and I suggest that you should do so as well. It really makes life easier, not only on more complicated situations, but on even those daily inconveniences. Everything I'm going to be showing you here has been used by myself, and I have found it to be useful on more than enough times so as to recommend it and feel comfortable with it. Again, your own personal circumstances may vary, so for example, if you live in a state or in a country where it's legal to carry a firearm, you should definitely do so. That's going to be different for you if you live in some other country where it's not a possibility. So again, use this as a guide so as to put together your own personal kit. I'm gonna be assuming that you do have some stuff with you. I'll assume that you have a wallet with, you know, your cards, your credit cards, some cash, and hopefully enough cash so as to get yourself out of trouble if you happen to need it. A few coins as well. I'll assume you have a cell phone. The only thing I'm gonna be saying is that it's important to have a case that protects your phone from breaking if it falls, something like the OtterBox Defender, which you see here. I'll assume you have a watch as well, something like the one I have. Well, this is, before anyone asks, this is a Casio G-Shock with stainless steel wristband. You know, there's other options. If something like this, which is a watch that I carry often, the Orange Monster by Seiko. You know, a watch that's reliable, hopefully something that it's a bit tougher than a more delicate watch. So I also assume that you have your house keys, your car keys. In my case, I have a few items in my keychain which I've showed on different occasions. Phoenix LD01 flashlight that uses a single AAA battery, Swiss Army knife mini champ, Boker mini titanium pry bar, and titanium peanut lighter as well. This is a kit on its own, but these are things that I'll assume you have, not this type of keychain, which is a good idea. But getting directly to it, the top 10 EDC items. One of the most important ones anyone can have with them is a knife. Pocket knife, fixed blade, whatever works for you. At least have one knife. It goes without saying that's one of the most versatile tools any person can have with them. I was talking with a guy the other day, and we agreed that we just don't understand people that don't have a knife with them. Some sort of knife, whatever you can get that it's okay to carry in your own personal circumstances, at least have one. Having a multi-tool. In my case, I like the Leatherman Charge, and the recently reviewed by myself Leatherman Sidekick as well is cheap. It's, well, maybe not cheap as the word, it's inexpensive and has most of the uses of the more expensive way and charge, but definitely multi-tool is something you should be adding to your EDC kit. How much have I used my multi-tool? I use it every single day. For one reason or another, I use it a lot, and I've also used it when I was in a bit more of a trouble. I needed to make some car repairs or repair something else. It does come handy enough so as to recommend it. Moving on and going into the bag itself. Maybe the most underrated piece of equipment and you could have with you. a bottle of water. People just need water. Every single human is going to be needing a sip of water in the next 2 or 3 hours, just the way it is. And still, lots of people don't have a bottle of water with them. Usually, they improvise buying a bottle of water, buying a soda, which isn't that good for you anyway. You just can save lots of money by having a bottle of water with you and using that. You can also save yourself lots of grief. An ER nurse sent me an email once telling me about the many complications, the many medical complications, even diseases that can be avoided just by drinking more water. Migraines, there's so many problems people have because they just don't drink enough water, from overweight to kidney stones. If you just drink more water on a daily basis, you're going to be improving your health considerably. Besides that, strictly speaking of survival and preparedness, water is, by all means, when disaster strikes, water, potable and drinkable water that you can indeed drink, it's one of the greatest priorities. So why not have it? Why not have it with you? You're going to be needing it anyway. What I did here is get a stainless steel bottle. Why not an aluminum bottle? Well, the thing is that aluminum is not as tough as stainless steel, but besides that, it usually has a liner on the inside, and that means it cannot be put directly on the flame. And that's something that I like having, the possibility of doing so. Why? Because that means that this bottle of water can also be used so as to improvise for cooking, for boiling water. If I have water that I need to boil so as to make it potable to be able to drink it, if I have to use this container so as to cook, prepare a soup or something like that, it's not going to be very practical, but it's going to be possible. It has a wide enough mouth that you can stick a stick in there, a long spoon or something. It can be done. Alright, so that's why I prefer, in spite of the little added weight, I prefer to have a stainless steel bottle. Moving on, a large scarf or shemagh. How many uses for this? Endless. I've used it for anything and everything, from, keeping my head and my neck warm in winter time, keeping the sun out of my eyes in summer, keeping brass from going down my collar during shooting sessions. You can combine these two and do a number of other things as well. If there's a fire, you can soak in water the shemagh and wrap it around your face and your hair so it doesn't catch fire. Protect your nose and mouth from smoke as well. You can use it as an improvised gauze and for pressure and stop bleeding. You can use it as a tourniquet. There's so many uses for a large piece of cloth such as a scarf or a shemagh. It goes without saying, it is handy enough and important enough that even if it's just a large scarf, just go for it and add it to your kit. Moving on, let's see. What about hand sanitizer? How useful is this? I use it at least a couple times every day. Why? Because when you're in places where people have touched stuff that you're touching as well, think of public transportation, think of elevator buttons, think of malls, supermarkets. I know for a fact, I just know it, that as things keep getting worse and there's a bit more of poverty, as it is happening worldwide, there's no country safe from that trend that we're seeing these days. Disease become more common, and you can save lots of those problems by simply keeping your hands clean. It's also useful in case you have to start a fire. It's useful as a fire starter. If you put a spark or flame to this, it's useful as a fire starter as well. Paracord 550. Some type of cord or rope is very useful as well. Again, number of different uses. I just like having some cord with me. Paracord has the option of having those 7 strands on the inside. If you got it, if you cut a length of it and you got it, you have 7 strands on the inside as well. So so useful, so practical, and comes handy on many occasions. Moving on, a first aid kit. How useful is this? Yeah, I'd say a lot. Especially it's useful in times when it's hard to improvise something else, or in times where a plaster or a band-aid, it's very handy. There's a little bit of, it's not nothing too fancy, it's just, a bit of plasters, some gauze. I added some ibuprofen pills as well. I also have quick clot combat gauze in case of a more intense bleeding that cannot be stopped by direct or indirect pressure. A small survival emergency kit. The typical contents that you will be finding in an Altoids kit. I've showed this kit and many others in a previous video of mine. Just go back so as to see the contents of this and other kits as well. Matches or some other source of starting a fire. Maybe a lighter. And of course a flashlight. In this case, this is a 4/7 Quark Mini 123. What I usually do is carry one in my pocket. The tactical 4/7 Quark 123 tactical flashlight. How useful is a flashlight? Man. Again, it's one of those things that you use on a daily basis, and it's one of those pieces of kits that in a real emergency, when lights go down, and just keep in mind that of the 24 hours you have each day, like 12 of those are in the darkness, and you're always counting on artificial methods of lighting. The thing is that when those go down, you really have to find a way of improvising, and that's one of the things that it's very hard to improvise, and it's so wonderful to have the option of having, especially these days with the great flashlights that are out there in the market. I mean, it's insane not to have something as small and useful as this flashlight. Guys, that would be my top 10 suggestion, and the basis in which you may use to construct your own EDC kit. There's some other stuff that it's useful as well. Some other suggestions like having a bit of food, Kleenex. One of the things that I like having myself is an extra bag, such as with this one. It allows you to carry even more stuff when you're buying stuff. And a small notebook and a pen. These are extra things that you may want to consider as well, just because it's so handy and makes it comes handy enough so that you may want to be considering these. Guys, I changed my setup a lot because I adapt to whatever it is that I need that day or during that time of my life. So that's why you're gonna be seeing myself changing this very often. And if you go back to a different EDC kits that I've used, you'll see that they do vary as time goes by. That's because it would be foolish not to do so, not to adapt to the different needs. So folks, I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you on our next video. Take care, and thanks for watching.